The supermarket was crowded, the checkout line moving slowly, when a young mother with her baby in her arms stepped forward, clutching a small basket of groceries. Her hands shook slightly as she reached for her wallet, only to realize she didn't have enough money to pay for the essentials. The cashier's face hardened, and in a cold voice, she told the young woman she couldn't take her items. Panic and embarrassment washed over the mother as she tried to explain, but the words caught in her throat. Around them, people avoided looking, pretending not to notice the struggle unfolding. Right in front of them, just as the mother felt the weight of hopelessness pressing down, a sharp, confident voice cut through the tension. A well-dressed man, standing nearby with an air of authority and calm, stepped forward. There was something about him, an unmistakable presence that made everyone pause. He leaned toward the mother, eyes kind but decisive, and offered a gesture that would change everything in ways no one expected. In that moment, the grocery store became more than just a place to shop. It became the beginning of a story about generosity, courage, and unexpected opportunities. But what happened next would shock everyone present. The mother's eyes widened as the man gently placed his hand on her shoulder, assuring her it was okay. He introduced himself as someone who understood struggles she could hardly imagine, but he didn't reveal too much, just enough to spark curiosity and hope. Around them, shoppers whispered, some staring openly, others glancing furtively, sensing that something unusual was unfolding. The baby, sensing the shift in energy, cooed softly, and for a brief moment, the tension in the room lifted. As the mother accepted his help, she couldn't help but wonder why a stranger, dressed in such fine clothes and radiating confidence, would intervene in her moment of need. She had seen people ignore her struggles countless times, yet here he was, stepping forward when everyone else had turned away. The man's calm demeanor hinted at a life of experience and power, but his eyes held warmth that made the mother feel both safe and uncertain at the same time. Questions swirled in her mind. Who was he really, and why did he care? Was this a one-time act of kindness, or something that could change her life forever? As the checkout line moved slowly, the tension between the ordinary and the extraordinary grew, leaving everyone in the store holding their breath, waiting to see what would happen next. The mother's hands trembled as the man quietly covered the cost of her groceries. Relief washed over her, but it was tangled with a mix of disbelief and curiosity. Around them, a few shoppers whispered, some skeptical, others amazed. The man didn't linger with explanations, but his presence seemed to shift the energy of the store. It wasn't just about the money, it was about recognition, dignity, and a moment of human connection that the young mother hadn't felt in a long time. As they walked toward the exit, the mother's thoughts raced. How could someone so wealthy and confident take notice of someone like her? She remembered the nights she'd worried about feeding her baby, the long hours she spent juggling small jobs, and the constant feeling of being invisible. Suddenly, the stranger's intervention felt like more than chance. It felt like the start of something that could challenge the life she thought was set in stone. Meanwhile, the man returned to his own thoughts. This wasn't the first time he'd encountered someone struggling in public, yet there was something different about this moment. The baby's innocent curiosity, the mother's quiet resilience, and the subtle but undeniable tension in the room seemed to pull him into a story he couldn't ignore. But just as hope flickered, an unexpected complication loomed. Someone from his world had noticed the interaction, and not everyone was pleased. The stakes were quietly rising, and the true test of generosity, courage, and destiny was just beginning. The mother left the store with her baby nestled against her chest, the small bag of groceries swinging gently from her arm. Her heart was still pounding, not just from relief, but from the uncertainty of what had just happened. She kept stealing glances at the man who had helped her, but he had already disappeared into the crowd, leaving behind more questions than answers. Who was he? Why had he chosen her? And why did a single act of kindness feel like it might change everything? Back in his sleek office high above the city, the man couldn't stop thinking about her. He replayed the moment over and over, the mother's quiet strength, the baby's soft curiosity, the raw humanity in her eyes. But as he considered reaching out, he remembered the world he came from, a world of scrutiny, politics, and people who judged every move. Someone powerful had seen his actions, and a subtle warning was already coming his way. Meanwhile, the mother began to feel the ripple effects of the encounter. People in her neighborhood whispered, strangers offered smiles or small gestures of help, and she realized her life was quietly shifting in ways she hadn't anticipated. But even as hope grew, a shadow of tension lingered. Forces she couldn't see and didn't yet understand were moving behind the scenes. Both of them were being pulled toward a moment that could redefine their lives. But danger, misunderstanding, and unexpected challenges were closing in fast. The air felt electric, every step heavy with anticipation, and the story teetered on the edge of something unforgettable. Just as the mother began to feel a fragile sense of hope, her phone buzzed with an unexpected message. It was from an unknown number, and the words made her stomach drop. Asterisk, I know what happened at the store. Stay careful. Her hands shook as she read it, glancing down at her baby, who stared up at her with innocent eyes. Questions flooded her mind. Who could have sent this? Was it someone connected to the man who had helped her, or something entirely different? The sudden warning turned her relief into anxiety, and the feeling of safety she'd had moments ago evaporated at the same time. The millionaire CEO felt pressure mounting in his world. The quiet intervention at the supermarket hadn't gone unnoticed. Colleagues and rivals whispered, some warning him to step back, others questioning his motives. The very act that had felt right in that moment now carried consequences he hadn't anticipated. His intentions, pure and human, were being challenged by a world that demanded calculation and control. Meanwhile, the mothers, neighbors, and friends began noticing subtle changes too. Someone seemed to be watching, someone curious about her sudden, small fortune and new attention. The tension thickened as she tried to navigate ordinary life while feeling the invisible eyes tracking her every move. The story that began with simple kindness was evolving into a complex web of secrets, power, and unseen danger, pushing both of them toward a confrontation that neither could ignore. Pick up from the previous section and write revealing the story's climax. Resolve the main conflicts but include a final, unexpected twist to surprise the audience. The climax should be intense and satisfying, providing a resolution to the key plot points while maintaining suspense until the very end. Keep the narrative engaging with relevant keywords. Also, do not make any headings. Only write story in paragraphs. Also, keep the wording simple and natural tone. Also, make the script human-centric and don't give feel of AI-generated. Also, don't create violated content which can affect YouTube policy. Just as the mother began to feel a fragile sense of hope, her phone buzzed with an unexpected message. It was from an unknown number, and the words made her stomach drop. Asterisk, I know what happened at the store. Stay careful. Her hands shook as she read it, glancing down at her baby, who stared up at her with innocent eyes. Questions flooded her mind. Who could have sent this? Was it someone connected to the man who had helped her, or something entirely different? The sudden warning turned her relief into anxiety, and the feeling of safety she'd had moments ago evaporated at the same time. The millionaire CEO felt pressure mounting in his world. The quiet intervention at the supermarket hadn't gone unnoticed. Colleagues and rivals whispered, some warning him to step back, others questioning his motives. The very act that had felt right in that moment now carried consequences he hadn't anticipated. His intentions, pure and human, were being challenged by a world that demanded calculation and control. Meanwhile, the mothers, neighbors, and friends began noticing subtle changes too. Someone seemed to be watching, someone curious about her sudden, small fortune and new attention. The tension thickened as she tried to navigate ordinary life while feeling the invisible eyes tracking her every move. The story that began with simple kindness was evolving into a complex web of secrets, power, and unseen danger, pushing both of them toward a confrontation that neither could ignore. The tension that had been building for days finally broke in a quiet, human moment. The mother, with her baby in her arms, received a call from the CEO. He reassured her that the warnings and whispers around them were nothing more than misunderstandings, and that he wanted to help her in a way that was meaningful, not just temporary. She felt a wave of relief and gratitude, realizing that this wasn't just about money, it was about respect, dignity, and being seen. With his guidance, the mother found small opportunities she had never imagined possible: access to education programs, childcare support, and even a job that valued her skills and determination. The once overwhelming obstacles began to feel manageable. The mysterious messages and curious eyes faded into the background,